Welcome aboard the Spirits Operator podcast. I'm your host, Psychic Medium Mary B. Join me as we navigate the ethereal currents between the mystical and the mundane. Get ready to explore the unseen forces shaping our world and discover how to harness their power for personal growth, healing, and transformation. Hello, listeners, and welcome back to another episode of Earth to Essence. Today we have a special guest who's sure to inspire and enlighten us. Joining us is Jessie, a certified Reiki master and crystal energy healer, hailing from the charming Smoky Mountains of Sevierville, Tennessee, hometown of the one and only Dolly Parton. Jessie completed her studies in September 2021 and has since been passionately immersing herself in the healing arts. She loves the outdoors, running, cooking, nurturing plants and animals, reading tarot, and collecting stunning crystals. Currently, she's diving into the world of sound healing. She's excited to incorporate the soothing vibrations of singing bowls into her Reiki practice. Well, hello. We're welcoming Jessie Porter to the podcast today. Hi.
Hello, Mary.
So Jessie and I have been friends for how long now, Jessie? Goodness. Since 2016, maybe 8 years?
2017?
So 7 years?
Yes.
Yeah. So 7 years. So yeah, we've been down an interesting journey together, and having you on this podcast is super awesome because I want you to share your story and your path here, because you have a lot of interesting information and ways that you've handled things differently than I do, because we're different people. So pretty cool.
Yes.
And I know that your experiences will be helpful for others. So thanks for being here.
Well, thank you for having me.
Backstory on how we met, because this is kind of the fun, important part of where we started.
Well, I met you at my front door. You had literally just moved in, and my mother-in-law was down visiting, and she was outside with the kids, and she comes in and I'm cooking dinner, and she's like, "There's a lady out here who wants to meet you." And I was like, okay. So I opened the door and you're like, "Hi, I'm Mary. I'm your new neighbor." And it was nice because none of my neighbors have ever just introduced themselves to me before. So
Too funny.
That's how it began. Yes.
I'm big on community, and I'm really big on getting to know my neighbors, because I think it's important to be aware of the people that are around you.
Absolutely.
And when I met Jessie, I was like, no way is this person this nice. and sure, yep, you are. You are very nice, and it's real. So that's pretty cool. I wasn't so sure, because you just never know. And I'm sure you kind of had that same, we get aware, that distrust, because of course we've gone through things in our life where we've gotten burned by people, right?
Exactly.
And we're going to talk a little bit about that later on in the podcast today, about how we can kind of trust ourselves and navigate through finding our people. So the next thing I wanted to talk about with you was the day that you and I went to the metaphysical store together, because we started this journey where we were able to kind of talk to each other about who we really were, who we really are. And it felt so nice to me and comfortable to me to be able to share that with you and have someone that's had some very similar experiences. So growing up, having hyper awareness, seeing things, hearing things that most people couldn't. So to have somebody that had a similar path, that was really, really good for me. And I know for you as well. So we went down this adventure together back in 2017, 2018. And let's talk about our first experience into the metaphysical store, and then our Intuition 101 class.
Well, I will say this, like the metaphysical store was an experience that I don't think either of us were anticipating. It was a lot. It was heavy and just being sensitive as it is, walking into a place where it's auditory, it's smell, it's sight, it's all the things. It is an overload for your system.
It is.
So
And the energy that emits from the people that are there, because everybody is working in magic, basically high energy, and also working with crystals, because the store had a boatload of crystals.
oh
It's
yeah,
called stone soup. So, of course, it's going to have all the stones that we could ever really want, right?
exactly. Exactly.
So, that day we went in and we met with the gal that was running the Intuition 101 class, and we had some experiences connecting with her. And then after that class, do you remember after the class when she pulled us aside and brought us into that other room? So yeah, y'all might know if you've listened to the podcast before, that I talked about this, how I felt when I went in there. Um, this is the friend that went in there with me, so I like to get her take on it, because her take on it is totally different than mine. I was in this whole like, wait a minute mode, and you were like, yay! So
Yay! I honestly think that, talking with Michelle at Stone Soup, and, I, as a child, I already knew I was like a highly sensitive person. Um, but I was like, I feel like it kind of goes beyond that. Like, there's something is different. Like, highly sensitive people, yes, can pick up on energy for sure, but like I'm picking up, like I'm crying when other people are crying, and I don't understand that.
yes,
um so to talk with Michelle, like I remember being like, this is what I've got going on, this is how I'm feeling, what am I, and she's all, honey, you're an empath. And I'm like, huh?
right. So you got this new identification, this new. Now we talk about labels, and a lot of people get really frustrated with labels, but labels can help us really feel part of something and help us understand where other people are feeling the same way, or identify with something. And when that label is put there, then we can kind of join into that group of people that are feeling the same way, because we can find them. If we didn't
Exactly.
have the label, we wouldn't be able to find them. We wouldn't be able to find, a psychic, because you wouldn't even know that that's the term, if there was not
Exactly.
a form of label. So, how did you feel once you started really bringing in this awareness that you were an empath, and how did that make you feel part of something?
So much, Mary. um to actually have a label and something that could then become tangible for me, that I can research and learn, like, this isn't in my head, I'm not crazy, there are others like me out there, and to be able to finally start to understand why I'm feeling the way that I am was
Yes.
huge.
Yes.
um and just then being able to relate to others, like it, once you gave me, you gave the baby a name, right? So then
Yeah.
you start meeting, we come out of the woodwork, and I feel like other empaths are immediately drawn to you, which is probably why you and I connected the way that we did so quickly. um,
Yes.
but
Yes.
it was absolutely freeing for me.
Kind of went into, well, how do we navigate this? And I know that for you it was different than me. I was given information more and confirming more information along the lines that I would be a medium, that I would be working as someone that would help spirits cross over and things like that. Now, that was information that I already knew inside, but didn't necessarily want to recognize. But then I started questioning, well, am I not an empath? And I remember asking you that, and you're like, but you are, and I was like, but not in the same way as you. So I did discuss that in the podcast in the very first episode of the season. But for you now, the things that have helped you, because there are a lot of highly sensitive people that do feel the emotions and the physical pain from others. What resources did you find that kind of brought you into being able to put up boundaries?
Definitely for me was bubbling my own energy, and being able to finally like understand what is mine and what isn't. And I think that's going to be the most tricky part for any, empath who's just come into this knowledge themselves. But bubbling is a necessity. Also, like protection crystals are huge, in your home, in your car, in your bag, on your body. Like,
Yes.
yes. So
Bubbling, you mentioned bubbling. What is that for people that might not know?
it's a little safe space, honestly.
Okay.
Like, and your bubble can be whatever you want it to be. For me, I honestly envision my bubble kind of like Glinda the Good Witch, and I just, I just see this huge, beautiful bubble full of light just circle my body, and you ask your guides to protect you and to only let what is going to be for your highest good into your bubble and to deflect the negativity.
That makes sense. Now you have crystals. Do those crystals, and we all know that they have energy. Well, those that work with crystals know that they have energy that amplifies certain things. So the crystals that you carry, what are your go-to crystals typically?
My go-to crystals. Absolute favorite, personally, is my watermelon tourmaline. Tourmaline in general is a fantastic, very attainable grounding stone. But the watermelon tourmaline is more like, not only is it a root chakra stone, so it connects you to the ground, but it's also a heart chakra stone. So for me, and especially for other empaths, I feel like, rose quartz is another that we can utilize because we're already giving so much of our heart. My watermelon tourmaline helps me to not only ground, but that's another tool of mine to help to realize like what is mine, what isn't mine, to keep a little bit of love for myself.
That, I love the way you put that. Keep a little love for myself. Yeah, because we do tend to bleed out a lot of ourselves to people, and
Absolutely.
people will go down to the nothing in their cup. So when you're finding yourself depleted as an empath, what do you do to kind of get that cup filled up again?
I absolutely become a hermit. You know this. I will literally shut the world off. I won't go anywhere. Now, this isn't typical for a lot of people, but especially like just working from home, thankfully I have this, privilege to be able to just shut the world completely out. And I check in with my chakras to see which one is completely out of whack. And, I recharge myself, essentially.
Okay. Now, how do you check in with your chakras?
How do I do what, honey?
How do you check in with your chakras? Like, what is it that you do? Do you just close your eyes and ask? What do you do there?
This is going to sound a whole lot of woo, but I know you understand this,
Woo
right?
all the way.
So when I check in with my chakras, I'm a very visual person. And for me, a divination tool that I use is my pendulum. And in Reiki or any sort of like crystal healing, we learn that your left hand is your receiving hand. So when I'm checking in with myself, I use my pendulum over my left hand and I start at my root and I work all the way up to my crown chakra just to see,
Okay.
is this chakra in balance? Is it out of balance? And that gives me a visual, map of where I need to work.
And you hold it with your non-receiving hand, and then you just
Correct.
ask for each individual chakra without having to put it over the body in any way.
Exactly.
Oh,
Yes.
interesting. Except for the hand, of course. Yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
Interesting. So then you check in with those, and then do you ask for them to just be balanced? Is that each one if you're finding that it is imbalanced?
Well, when you do check in, I'm sorry, my mind is going in all different
That's
directions
okay.
right now. As far as you're asking, like, how do I charge those?
Yeah, so say like your root chakra is showing imbalanced. What is it that you do to create balance in that space?
Okay. So when, say, your root, you'll always start at your root to start checking in with your energy. After I learned that my root chakra is out of balance, what we learn in Reiki school is that your chakras are wheels. And so your pendulum will actually work as like a clock. And so when you're like getting rid of your negativity, it will go like counterclockwise. So it'll unwind the chakra of like all the yuck, right?
Yes.
And so once your pendulum stops moving, that's your body's way of saying, okay, we're good. Now you can go to your sacral and you just start working up your chakra system.
I mean, I know that people, you may not have a pendulum, but I know that people have necklaces, people have
Absolutely.
chains, people have a key on a chain, that they can use to balance or to check in on their chakras. So don't panic if you don't have a pendulum handy.
Absolutely. Yes, you can use anything.
When I was pregnant to try to figure out what the sex of the baby was, which I found really funny. That was years and years and years ago, like 15 plus years.
You knew.
Yeah, you just follow the intuition on how to do these things. Kind of funny. All right. Well, those are great tips for people. And so when you're recharged and you're rebalancing yourself, and then you can kind of put yourself back out in the world and create your bubble before you go into spaces where there's people, where there's people, period.
Seriously.
Right, exactly. So let's talk about people, because we know as an empath, we are drawn and drawn to others like us, but we're also drawn to help people. And when we put ourselves out there to help others, we do tend to draw in people who may carry a lot of negativity. What are your experiences with that?
So much
That you want to share?
So much experience. Um, if I'm going to be very direct, I think, empaths are like lightning bugs in the world, and we flicker and shine, and people are drawn to us. But also, like you're saying, these negative people, narcissistic people are also very much drawn to us. And unfortunately, until we learn the lessons that we're here to learn, we will continue meeting the same person in a different form. So,
Yes, I hear
yeah.
that. So so how do you know right away that you've got that kind of person coming into your path? Do you feel it?
It takes a lot of time. I would say a good 6 months before I personally would recognize that something is just kind of off, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And the one thing that I've learned through therapy is narcissists have a form of empathy, but
Mm-hmm.
it's empathy in the fact or in the ways that they learn us, like in that first couple of months, they
So like
learn
a mirror.
yes, they learn everything about us.
Mm-hmm.
And then they turn it off. Like it's gone. And you never see that person again. But as an empath, you saw the goodness in this person, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so our want to love and to help, you want to continue seeing the best in this person. And unfortunately, we are our own, I don't know, I guess we take each other ourselves down the most. Like we're our own worst enemy because we just want to love this person and ignore the red flags, even though there can be a gazillion of them.
Yes.
And like I said, I mean, you will continue to find this person in completely different people, but it'd be the same. And it's so funny. It's like, honestly, it's become a game for me at this point, and I hate to say it like that, but when people start acting a certain way and it's very familiar, my boundaries have become kind of my chess pieces. So when I'm like, okay, this is not working for me, and I'm getting better about being direct and setting the boundary early. And when someone then doesn't agree or, takes on the victim mentality, like because they're upset that they're not getting what they wanted from me, I'm like, okay, yep, I'm going to love you, but I'm also going to love myself. And this is not going to be okay. Like, this isn't going to
Yeah.
work.
So
So,
you choose to either walk away or love from a distance or whatever it is you do.
exactly.
Okay. So that makes sense because I was thinking, 6 months is an awful long time to invest yourself into someone.
Yeah.
And then to find that they were, the wolf in sheep's clothing. That is really startling. So I like that you have found a way now after learning these lessons to dip your toe in the water and not completely just jump in all ways. So I think that's really important.
Thanks,
It's a good
friend.
lesson. Yeah. Uh, well, I know we've all kind of ran into as highly sensitive people and empaths in general. We've had our own collections of challenges of people and trying to help and be the light for others, and be what we want to see in the world. But we do need to create those boundaries. And so I even say that, when we talk to spirit, when we talk to spirits, or when there's ghosts, or when there's anything around you, you have to create boundaries. So these
100%.
boundaries go into every single category of our existence,
Yeah,
not just one. So
exactly. Yeah.
yeah.
Boundaries
And once
are an everyday tool.
Yes, and once you've learned to create those, it's much easier, don't you think? You feel more
Absolutely.
confident because you know they work, you know?
Absolutely. And and it's one of those things, it is so uncomfortable, Mary, when you begin setting boundaries, especially like when you're from families where you didn't really ever have a voice,
Yes.
or you're a people pleaser, and so you're
Mhm.
going along doing everything, because rejection, especially to an empath, is world shattering, like earth shattering. It's awful. And there was a time where it used to make me physically ill
Mhm.
knowing that somebody was upset with me.
Yeah.
But once you get in the practice, and once you start, and you will, like I said, it becomes funny, really. Like, people show you who they are, And when you start standing up for yourself and setting those boundaries, the people who aren't meant to be in your life just seem to fall off. Like,
Yes. They
yeah.
drop off because they don't want to put themselves in front of you again. That they realize that the game is over.
Exactly.
And I remember my sister telling me at one time when I was dealing with a really bad narcissistic relationship, she said something to me, and it was, "You teach people how to treat you." And I was angry. I was so angry. My response was anger. And it was not necessarily at her, but just angry in general.
Right.
And I was like, gosh, you're so right. But I'm angry at myself because I did this. I allowed this for so long.
Mhm.
And then I found, like they say in Alice in Wonderland, the more Johnny Depp one. You found your muchness, like I found my muchness, and I was so muchy that I came out of it. and,
Exactly.
so, well, I like that you're able to now be on the other side of this and really be able to navigate finding your tribe, your group, your people, and sorting through the diamonds versus the poo covered rocks. I know it's a terrible term, but it's totally true.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, exactly. So you've gone through all of this now. Now you're able to actually put practice in to help others, and so you've created these boundaries, and that enables you to be able to give now.
Mhm.
So tell me what you do to help other people.
Well, it is a daily work in progress, but slowly but surely, I think it was back in 2021 now.
Mm-hmm.
I took a Reiki course and became a Reiki master, and also became a crystal energy healer.
I love that.
So I, obviously empaths, we can feel energy. And so this was kind of, it just clicked and made sense to me that I could, obviously help people with their chakras and put a little bit of good energy, healing energy into them, but also work with the crystal energies as well and be able to teach people about crystals, and that I've always loved crystals, even as a child. Like my mother told me a story just recently that I had never heard, and she had taken me to the doctor because she couldn't keep rocks out of my mouth. And I was like 3 years old. True story. 3 years old. My doctor, like literally, and this just goes to prove the science behind crystals, okay? My doctor looks at my mother and he was like, there is nothing wrong with Jessie, but she's needing whatever energy or whatever nutrients this rock is providing for her. He was like, the only thing that I'm going to ask you is just to make sure she doesn't choke on them. So I needed something. Yes, for sure.
Supplement.
But
Oh my goodness. Just shows you that your little squirrel nature was giving you what you needed.
exactly. And it used to bother my mom so bad. She's like, they're so gross. She gets them off the ground.
Yeah,
Well,
we would be saying the same if it was our
oh,
kids.
absolutely. I honestly, I probably would have also taken my children to the doc and been like, what is wrong with her?
She's eating rocks. Oh, that's so funny. I wonder now that makes me think, totally going off in a squirrel direction, if animals also feel that way. Because, my dog, when I first got her, she was eating rocks, and now she doesn't even try to do that anymore. So
Interesting.
I don't know if that's just a puppy phase, but totally down a different rabbit hole here. We'll refocus. Oh my goodness. Okay, so with your Reiki and your crystal healing methods that you do, are you able to do those from distance, or is that something that you do in person? Tell me more about
I
that.
can absolutely do both.
Mm.
But currently, I am only doing my Reiki sessions per distance. Mainly because Florida has some weird laws here where you can't practice Reiki without being a massage therapist. And I'm an empath and I don't want to physically touch people. Like the type
Yes,
of
yeah.
Reiki that I was taught is hands off. So I'm, yeah, I'm just practicing from a distance at this point in my life, which is fine. But the crystal energy healing sessions, I can do all day, every day.
The privilege to have those done, and it's been really wonderful. So yay. Now, where can people find you if they wanted to have a distance session or anything like that?
Well, I do have a new Etsy account. It's under the Empathetic Homemaker. I also have an Instagram account, which is also under the Empathetic Homemaker. Or you could look me up on Facebook as, Jessie Porter. So I'd be happy to touch base with anybody however we can.
Okay, perfect. Now, as far as our closing that you have for someone just kind of that they just found themselves as an empath like you did, where can they find resources? What can they do?
I would absolutely recommend the book by, is it Judith Orloff?
Yeah, that's the one.
The Empath's Guide, Survival Guide. Your sister was generous enough to send me a copy of that when I first got on this journey, and it is eye-opening. Tons of information in that. I would also recommend Dr. Ramani Deversala. She's got some YouTube videos where she mainly talks about narcissistic abuse, but she has a couple of videos specifically about empaths and how they can protect their energies from narcissists. As far as like the crystal healer and myself, you want to get those protection stones. So, tourmaline, hematite, obsidian, any of the jaspers. If you're thinking of grounding stones, you're going to look for red rocks and also any black rocks. And to clear those energies, to keep them, because they're like sponges, so they suck up all the negativity that you're around. You want a piece of selenite, and you can lay your stones on top of the selenite or next to, because a grouping of crystals will actually help clear the energies themselves. Let's see, what else? There's so much.
I know.
I would also really recommend getting yourself some sage.
Okay.
Just to clean your space and your home. And by space, I mean yourself, your space, and your home space, anywhere that you really need to go to recharge yourself and your energy. And yeah, I definitely feel like, once you know what you are, your people are going to start approaching. And just, I guess my word of advice for other empaths out there are, trust but verify. Don't give too much of yourself straight away. Hold a little. And I hate to be like that, but you have to be a little more reserved in your need and want to love people. I've learned this myself. So,
yeah.
Just take baby steps.
Baby steps, toe in the water. Got it.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for talking with us today, Jessie. It's been a delight. And I'm excited to put this out there for the world to get some good information.
Oh, thanks, Mary. And I appreciate you having me.